It's really something, isn't it? The sheer amount of information flying at us every day.
Well, absolutely. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, you're trying to stay on top of things, get a proper grasp, but often it feels like you're barely scratching the surface.
Finding those truly reliable insights, that takes time, serious time.
Exactly. And we all want to be, well-informed, but quickly without drowning in data.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it really highlights a need for better ways to process all this information. Smarter ways.
Which leads us perfectly into what we're exploring today, this idea of deep research. It
Mm.
sounds, well, deep, like going way beyond a quick search, really digging into online knowledge. It feels like it could really change how we learn things.
It absolutely could.
Yeah.
I mean, picture this. You ask a simple question, and an AI just intelligently navigates the web for you.
Finds the good stuff.
Finds the credible sources, pulls it all together, synthesizes it. That's a huge step up in, well, efficiency and just understanding.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive. We're getting into a really new AI research paper that's tackling exactly this. How to do online research efficiently, but also thoroughly.
Right, and this paper comes from a joint effort. Researchers from Renmin University of China, BAAI, and the Huawei Poisson Lab.
Some serious players involved then.
Definitely brings together a lot of expertise.
And the paper's title gives a lot away. WebThinker, empowering large reasoning models with deep research capability.
Does, yeah. It signals they're trying to give these powerful AI models the ability to conduct proper online investigations.
So what are these large reasoning models, or LRMs? Can you give us a quick primer?
Sure. Think of them as really advanced AI systems. They're capable of complex thought, logic, reasoning.
Yeah.
But traditionally, they have a key limitation.
Okay.
Well, WebThinker aims to fix that by letting these LRMs autonomously search the web, click around on pages, navigate, and even draft research reports while they're thinking.
So it's not just using what they already know.
Exactly. It's about going beyond their internal static knowledge base.
And interestingly, they've made WebThinker open source.
Which is great. It means others can build on it, explore it.
So today we're going to break down this research. We'll look at, what problems they saw with existing AI, how WebThinker is supposed to fix them, the actual methods they used,
The nuts and bolts.
what they found out the key results, and, well, what it all means. Plus, we'll look at any new ideas or data they introduced.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's dive in. What were the big limitations with the reasoning models we had before? What was the gap they were trying to fill?
Right. That's the crucial starting point. So these large reasoning models, LRMs, they're impressive, no doubt. They can solve tough math problems, write code, understand science.
Yeah, we've seen some amazing demos.
But the core issue is their knowledge is frozen in time, essentially. It's based on the data they were trained on.
Like having a brilliant expert who read every book up until last year but can't access anything published since.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So when you give them a task that needs really up-to-date information or requires pulling together facts from all over the current web to write, say, a research report.
They're stuck with their old library.
Exactly. They struggle because they can't actively go out and consult the latest journals on the internet.
And putting together a good research report isn't just recalling facts, is it?
Not at all. It's about finding information, judging if it's reliable, combining insights from maybe dozens of different web sources.
Which is why there's this big push now to connect these reasoning models with, well, the live web.
Precisely. And you see major players getting into this. OpenAI talks about deep research. XAI has Grok. Google's Gemini is exploring similar things. There's a clear practical demand.
So this deep research goal, it's pretty ambitious. You ask the simple question, and the AI does a deep dive across the whole internet.
Mines the reliable info, integrates it.
Yeah.
The idea is to empower users, save researchers potentially huge amounts of time and cost.
But the paper argues that the existing ways of doing this, especially in the open source world, have drawbacks.
They do. Many current approaches rely on something called retrieval augmented generation, or AG.
Okay, RG. Retrieval augmented generation. I think I've heard of that. It's about giving the model extra documents to help it answer.
That's the basic idea, yeah. You retrieve relevant information first, then the model uses that, along with its internal knowledge, to generate an answer.
But the WebThinker paper says the problem is with the workflows in current RG setups.
Exactly. They argue these workflows are often predefined, meaning the steps the AI takes Search this, retrieve that, maybe search again or fix in advance, like a rigid script.
Ah, okay, so it can't really adapt on the fly.
Right. It limits the LRM's ability to explore web information more deeply or have that kind of dynamic back and forth with the search engine. The paper actually has a diagram, figure 2, showing this contrast. Old methods are more linear.
Gotcha. Like that detective analogy you used earlier, they can only ask certain questions and visit specific places, even if clues point elsewhere.
That's it precisely.
Yeah.
They can't just follow a new lead spontaneously based on what they're finding.
So this inflexibility is the core challenge they identified. The need for a universal open source framework that's, well, more flexible.
Yes. How do you build something that isn't constrained by these rigid, pre-planned steps?
And that brings us to WebThinker. What's the fundamental idea behind their solution?
So WebThinker, they present it as this open source deep research agent. And the key difference, they stress, is that it's driven entirely by the LRM's own reasoning process.
Okay, not by a fixed external script.
Exactly. Figure 2C in the paper highlights this autonomous nature. Unlike those predefined RAG workflows, WebThinker lets the LRM decide, during its thinking process, okay, I need more information now, I should search for X, or this link looks promising, I should click it.
Wow, so searching and navigating the web become part of its actual thought process, not just a separate step beforehand.
Precisely. It's deeply integrated. Searching, reasoning, exploring it, all happens together.
Which presumably helps it tackle those really complex problems needing fresh info.
That's the idea. Problems that need current knowledge or deep exploration of online stuff. And there's another piece. WebThinker allows the LRM to draft the report as it goes.
Concurrently, while it's still thinking and searching.
Yeah. So as it finds info relevant to, say, section 2 of the report, it can start writing that section.
That feels much more like how a person would work, right? You don't gather everything first and then write. You synthesize as you discover.
It's a very different paradigm.
Yeah.
So how does it actually do all this? What are the main parts?
Good question. Let's get into the mechanics. What are the key modules or strategies it uses?
Okay, so there are a few core components. First up is what they call the Deep Web Explorer.
Deep Web Explorer. Sounds powerful. What does it do?
Its job is basically to give the LRM the tools to really investigate the web thoroughly.
More than just basic search.
Oh yeah. It can obviously use search engines, but crucially, it can also navigate within pages. You can click on links, buttons, other interactive bits.
So it can follow trails of information?
Exactly.
Right.
And it can extract the relevant text or data from those pages it visits.
So it's not just stuck on the first page of search results. It can actually, browse, like a human researcher clicking through references.
That's the concept. The LRM uses the first search results as a jumping-off point.
Okay.
Based on what it finds, it might refine its search terms for a follow-up search, or it might see a link that looks relevant and decide to click deeper.
And it keeps doing this until?
Until it decides it has gathered enough information for the task at hand.
What tools does this explorer actually use under the hood?
They mentioned two main elementary tools. A search engine tool, they call it TEAS,
T's for search. Makes sense.
and a navigation tool, TAN, which handles the clicking and interaction on the web page.
Okay, T's and DN. Got it. So that's how it finds and moves through information. But what about actually writing the report? You mentioned it does that concurrently.
Right, that's the next key part, the autonomous think, search, and draft strategy.
Okay.
The core idea here, as we touched on, is weaving the writing deeply into the reasoning and searching loop. It's not search, then think, then write. It's all happening intertwined.
Which sounds much more dynamic. How does it manage the writing part specifically?
They gave the LRM 3 specialized tools just for this. First, there's
Which is a draft for drafting content.
Exactly, for writing specific chapters or sections. Then there's check.
To check the report.
Yeah, basically to get a summary or an outline of what's been written so far. Helps it keep track. And finally, edit.
For editing. Seems logical.
Right, so it can draft sections, see how the overall report is shaping up, and then go back and refine or change things.
So it's got these tools to write, check its own work, and revise, like a little built-in editor function.
Pretty much. And this lets it improve the report iteratively. Finds new info. Use tdraft to add it in. Use check and see a gap. Use edit to fix it, restructure, add detail.
It's a continuous feedback loop then. Think, search, find something, draft it, check the draft, edit, maybe search some more.
Exactly. The report evolves as the model's understanding gets deeper.
That's clever. It really does mirror how a human might work through a complex research task. Now, the paper also mentions reinforcement learning, RL. How does that fit in?
Good point. That's the third key element. the RL-based training strategy.
Reinforcement learning, so learning from experience, rewards and penalties.
That's the essence of it, yeah. The motivation here was to push the LRM backbone even further, to really unlock its deep research potential and optimize how well it performs the whole end-to-end task.
So making it even better at using those tools and strategies.
Precisely. What they did was they took the LRM equipped with all these tools.
The explorer, the drafting tool.
Right, and they had it try to solve a bunch of complex tasks drawn from various benchmark datasets. They mentioned quite a few. SuperGP QA, WebWalker QA, OpenThoughts, Natural Reasoning, Lumina Math, and Glaive for report writing.
Okay, so it attempts these hard problems, then what?
Then they analyze how it attempted them. What reasoning steps did it take? How did it use the search tool, the navigation tool, the drafting tools? And, of course, how good was the final answer or report?
And use that analysis to teach it.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
They looked at the accuracy of its reasoning, the way it used the tools, the quality of the output, and used all that to create what they call preference pairs.
Preference pairs.
Yeah, it's basically feedback saying, this sequence of actions in tool use was better than that other sequence. Like, this led to a more accurate answer.
Okay, so examples of good versus not so good research approaches.
Exactly. And then they used this specific training technique called Online Direct Preference Optimization, or DPO.
Online direct preference optimization, DPO. Sounds complex. Can you break that down a bit?
Well, the online part means the learning happens continuously, iteratively, as the model practices. The DPO part is a way to directly teach the model to prefer the good demonstrated behaviors over the less good ones based on those pairs.
So it tries a task, gets feedback comparing its approach to better ones, adjusts its internal strategy, and tries again, getting progressively better.
That's the core loop. It's constantly refining how it interacts with the research tools based on this ongoing feedback.
So WebThinker isn't just built and done. It's designed to keep learning and improving its research skills. That seems really important.
It's a significant aspect, yeah.
Yeah.
Allows for continuous improvement.
Okay, so that's how it works. Now for the big question. Did it actually work? What were the results when they tested it?
They ran extensive tests. They evaluated it on two main types of tasks. First, those really hard, knowledge-heavy reasoning benchmarks.
With the ones you mentioned. GBQA, GAII, WebWalker QA.
And HLE, which stands for Humanity's Last Exam, a notoriously difficult one, yes.
Okay, complex reasoning. What was the second type?
Open-ended tasks focused on generating scientific reports using a dataset called Glaive.
Right. And how did WebThinker stack up against other methods on these tests?
The results were pretty striking. The paper has an overall comparison in Figure 1, and it shows WebThinker performing better, often significantly better, than the competing approaches. Better on both the problem-solving and the report writing, yes. On the complex reasoning benchmarks, both the basic WebThinker and the RL-trained version consistently outperform methods like just using the LRM directly, standard RAG workflows, and even other autonomous search agents like one called Search.01.
Can you give us a sense of the numbers? How much better?
Sure. Tables 1 and 2 of the paper have the details, but for instance, on that HLE benchmark, the WebThinker 32 billion parameter model, trained with RL, got an average score around 15.8%. Compare that to standard RAG using the same base model, which was down around 7 to 9%.
Wow, that's nearly double the score in some cases.
It's a substantial difference. And interestingly, they noted that on HLE, their 32B model was competitive with, or even slightly better than, a generally stronger baseline model called O3 Mini in some tests.
Suggesting the WebThinker framework itself adds a lot of capability.
Exactly. It seems the deep research approach really helps tackle those tough, knowledge-intensive questions.
Okay, that's reasoning. What about the scientific reports on the Glaive dataset?
Similar story there. WebThinker achieved the highest overall scores. Figure 4 shows this. It particularly stood out on metrics like completeness and thoroughness of the reports.
Making sure it covers the topic well.
Right. But it also did well on factuality and coherence, so the reports were accurate and well-structured too.
Figure 4 also had that TSNE visualization you mentioned. What did that show again?
Yes. T-distributed stochastic neighbor embedding. It's a way to visualize complex data. Each point was a report. What they found was that the reports generated by WebThinker seemed to form more spread-out clusters.
Meaning?
It suggests WebThinker was exploring the topics from more diverse angles, synthesizing information from a wider range of perspectives compared to the other models.
So deeper and broader research, potentially.
That seems to be the implication, yeah.
Did they test if WebThinker works well with different underlying AI models? Or just the one?
Good question. They did test it with different sizes of the DeepSeek R1 model family. 7 billion, 14 billion, and 32 billion parameters.
Right.
Across the board, on different benchmarks, WebThinker consistently outperformed both direct reasoning by the base model and standard RAG applied to that model. The framework seems adaptable.
That's important for wider use. Now, what about those ablation studies where they took parts away? What did that tell us?
Right, the ablation studies in Table 3 were really informative. They basically confirmed the importance of each piece.
So what was critical?
Well, the RL training gave a significant boost to problem-solving performance. No surprise there.
Makes sense.
The Deep Web Explorer module, absolutely essential. Performance dropped noticeably without it for both reasoning and reports.
So the searching and navigating is key.
Definitely. Even just the ability to click links, the T tool, showed measurable value, especially on tasks needing more navigation.
Interesting. What about the writing parts?
The autonomous drafting, T-draft, was crucial for getting high-quality reports. And the check and edit tools, check and edit, also measurably improved the final report, quality and coherence.
So it really seems like all those components, the Explorer, the autonomous drafting, the RL tuning, they all pull their weight.
Yeah, it looks like a well-designed system where the parts work together effectively.
Okay, so bringing all together, what are the main conclusions the researchers drew from all this? What do they see as the big takeaways or contributions?
The main conclusion is that WebThinker is a significant step forward. It gives LRMs genuine, deep research capabilities, letting them tackle complex reasoning and generate comprehensive reports in a way that wasn't really possible before.
And they highlight its autonomy, right? The way it explores the web and produces output through continuous reasoning.
Exactly, that's a key differentiator. They specifically list out several novel contributions.
Let's hear them. What do they claim is new here?
Okay, first, the WebThinker framework itself, doing autonomous search, deep exploration, and report drafting all within the thinking process.
Yeah.
End-to-end in one go, unlike predefined workflows.
Right.
Second, the Deep Web Explorer, specifically enabling that deep gathering, traversing, and extracting of web info using both search and navigation.
Third,
Third, that autonomous think, search, and draft strategy for writing the report in real time alongside the research.
makes sense.
Fourth, developing the RL training strategies, particularly that iterative online DPO, to really hone the model's tool use.
Okay. And fifth.
And fifth, demonstrating that this whole approach works effectively across different LRM backbones, like QWQ and DeepSeek R1.
So it's a package deal. The framework, the Explorer, the drafting strategy, the training method, and proving it works on different models.
That's a good summary, yeah. They see it as having real potential to advance AI for complex, real-world challenges.
It certainly sounds like it. Did they mention where they plan to take WebThinker next? Any future work?
They did briefly touch on future plans. One area is incorporating multimodal reasoning.
So understanding images, videos, not just text.
Exactly, making sense of all the different types of content online. Another is exploring more advanced ways for the system to learn new tools or expand its capabilities.
Tool learning. Okay.
And finally, investigating GUI-based web exploration.
GI, graphical user interface, like interacting with website interfaces visually.
Precisely. Clicking buttons, filling forms based on visual layout, not just code structure, that could open up even more complex interactions.
Wow, those are ambitious next steps.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up for everyone listening, WebThinker really does feel like a major leap, doesn't it? Moving AI beyond just knowing stuff to actively finding and synthesizing new stuff deeply and on its own.
It definitely represents a shift away from static knowledge and simple search towards truly autonomous research capabilities for AI.
And thinking back to our starting point, that feeling of being overwhelmed by info, wanting reliable insights quickly, systems like WebThinker or things inspired by it could genuinely be the future of how we get well informed.
It certainly makes you think, doesn't it? If AI gets really good at this kind of deep autonomous research, I mean, how does that change things?
How does it change how we learn, how science gets done, how we create knowledge?
Exactly. What new possibilities open up?
Yeah.
And, what are the new challenges we might need to consider? It's a pretty profound thought.
Definitely food for thought. And hey, for anyone out there who wants to dig into the code themselves, the researchers made it open source. It's on GitHub. The address is https://github.com/RUC-NLPIR WebThinker.
Great that they shared it.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fascinating. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.